I started some exploration to try to capture a form that I have it in my sketch. Here are three of them. The first one, I used it to one real sweep. I have a curve here and then another curve so that they swept. But what happened is, while it's sweeping, it also seemed to turn a couple of times. So it's mysterious, but not very consistent. The second one, I used a different tool, which is extrude a long curve. So I have a curve, and then I extruded along another curve, which is a spiral one. And then I was not very happy with this a little bit the wrinkle and the wiggly, although I could continue to try and see what curve I really like. So I worked on the curve. What I did is the final curve, which is this curve, I worked, it was sort of like in and out a bit before, sort of like something like this. So I selected out the control point, and then I did a set PT. So I set all of them according to their Y. So then they are aligned, and then just move this one, snag it to the end. So then I did another spiral, which is more a bit more consistent, because here is basically a straight, so it's not a in and out juggle a bit. I will see how this will turn out. I'm planning to map something onto this surface, but possibly mapping a couple of times with the pattern from different direction. Now I'm going to model a snake, or a shape that's kind of like a snake, because that's part of the story. Or I think for the moment, I think a snake is the best one to symbolize the story. So I use a sub-D and I give a form, turn on the control point, and then I'm going to do a scale. I think if I, and this is just to move. This is also just to move. I think I just go to the normal 1D scale, 2D scale. And to be precise, I will snap to the point. And see how it works. Yeah, and maybe this point, just drag that point. So I think I need um, more divisions so that can be a little bit longer. How do I add in more divisions? So use my tool to select, Control Shift, select all this. And, I grab the middle point. I think I already add another layer. And then if I grab this one again, I think I add one more layer, so I should have a more control point in there. Okay, so turn on my control point normal way. So I'm selecting some of the center one, moving. Oh, this time, okay. Maybe moving for much longer. Like the tail. Just move them a bit so that they are um, like this is more like a hat. Maybe I'm going to continue to play with the control point just so that it would come out with the form that I like. So now I'm going to select this form and make it a little bit skinnier so it's a flat. So I'm going to press Shift and Control and select all the face, I believe. I just realized that you could use one of the two from Gumbo to make it, to scale it. So now this form is look flat-ish. So, so what I'm going to try to do is to let it let this shape follow the sparrow. I think I'm going to create a line from the bottom center, which is called the vertex. So I should be able to snap to vertex and then to the top center, which is another vertex. Okay, and so I create a line in the center, and let's try to do a flow and see how it works. And later on, I'm going to create some skinnish. I don't want to make my model super big, but I think I want to create some kind of a skinnish, kind of like the skin for this shape. Okay, flow, flow. Select object, let's enter, select base curve, and select target curve. Oh, okay, this one did flow, but it's not stretched to the whole length. So I need to go and take a look on this. Okay, so type in flow again. Select object, Press enter. Here are some stretch. Say yes. So we stretch base curve, target curve. So now it actually did. Where is it? But it doesn't follow the whole curve. And it seems to be twisted also. So I'm going to have to work with this and figure out the solution. So now I reshaped the shape of this snake. Eventually, I'm not going to use this shape because I do not want. I use this as a storytelling, but I do not want it to be so literal. I also worked with a little bit of twisting of the shape so that to select out the control point and somehow rotate them a bit. Where is the rotation? Here, for example, rotate them a bit so that they become a bit twisted. I also created on the side a very sharp little surface using construct a surface from 4 edges. So first, I just created a rectangular shape, and then turn on the control point and basically drag one of the point up and then explode it. So then there are 4 different curves and then construct the surface out of. So that's basically how this is constructed. I'm going to flow along surface and create a little base surface because the sub D is separate. So there are many surfaces actually. Each of them, if I select, is one surface. So let's take a look at how they would flow to be quite sharp, I think. Okay. So, and also you have to do it one by one in a way. Okay, so type in flow and choose flow along surface. Select object to flow. And base surface is this. And target surface, for example, is this one. So, so in that case, I have to do it one by one. I don't think there'll be other easier solution. So I'm just going to, or maybe I can select target surface altogether and try. Typing flow along surface. And then select the object, surface, base surface, And target surface, maybe I can select all of them all together. No, you have to select them one by one. Okay. So I'm going to try to do that. So now I end up with something more like this, but it's the original shape seemed to be a bit obscured. So I wonder either the division is too big so that, or the surface need to be redesigned so that maybe once I hide the original shape, there's still something that somewhat visible. So I do need to rework on the flow, on the base surface and the base shape. So now I recreate a shape and did a flow along surface. One of them worked, another one did not. If I hide the shape, you will see that one of them is actually flowed along the wrong direction, and also one inwards, but another one worked. So I'm going to delete this one and try it again. Sort of make it visually a little bit closer. Okay, so flow. Select flow along surface, object, press enter. I select this corner which we worked, and then target surface, this one. Okay, so now it's working. So I'm going to finish all of them. If it's not working, then you need to do a little bit of analyze on the surface. Do one more and try see if it worked. Object. Okay, so now it's working. As you can see, sometimes the flow don't work because it's flowing into the wrong direction or inwards. So oftentimes it can be, this is a bit of mystery in Rhino. Oftentimes it can be done by clicking on different corners. So now I'm clicking on this corner and here, let's click on this corner. Okay, so this worked. So I think before I was clicking on a different corner. Okay, so if this worked, then let's do a couple of more. And click on this corner. Okay. So this corner matching this corner. Okay. In this formula, it would work. Now I do not know which corner is which. I believe it's this corner matching that corner. Flow. Now I cannot. I'm not selecting the red corner, not able to. Okay, so I'm going to try. I think now I'm done with the treatment of this. I'm going to have a different treatment of for the head. So now I'm going to somehow export the selected so that I can delete. So I can call any name, and then basically I already exported. Should be called the pattern somewhere. In that case, I'm just going to delete this because it's not good to have a lot of materials in one model. And I'm going to, I think, going to somehow slice the head, which is really what I'm going to do. Create a contour. Roughly the dimension of this is roughly 263. So contour, select object contour, and then base point would be anywhere above the head. Direction will go straight. And then the distance would be 20. So it will take a while and slice the whole shape. Maybe 30. So now this is done, finished in slicing. And I think in order to give a very easy shape, first give a pipe so that it has a volume, not just a line. So the radius may be set as, because the distance between each line is 30. So if I give a 5, it would be too bulky. So maybe 3. Okay. So now I'm going to hide this and see how does it look like. Maybe I think I'm so far happy with this. I need more treatment for this shape. So group it. I realized the problem. I was trying to do a flow to let this shape follow the spiral shape. I think I first changed my mind because I think I would like a shape going through the spiral shape, such as a normal normal curve, kind of hovering around. But also the problem is there's too many control points. So what happened is this ring has many control points on it. So I need to redo quite a few things. So so contour is fine because I have to do the contour. This original shape doesn't have a lot of control point, and this shape probably are okay too. It doesn't really show control point because it's a poly surface, but does look quite sophisticated. So first ungroup and do an analyze. Okay, so this one, if I explode and then turn on the control point. Oh, this is giant. So this is a bit unfortunate because I already flowed onto it, and it did take me quite a while to flow. So many control points will create problems later. And if I rebuild all of them, I think if I can rebuild this one, possibly I can okay, this shape. If I rebuild, it would fall apart. First, the edges will not be together because it's not for 3D printing, it's just for visual. Maybe it's no problem. So if I rebuild all the surface, no, just type in rebuild and select the surface. Mesh. Is this a mesh? Why is it not coming as a surface? This is surface. So if I type in rebuild, still doesn't have surface option. Just use rebuild. Okay. So seems to be working at least to fix one shape. Now is U and V are 10. Maybe 3 will do. Wait, is it too many or too little? Degree? Okay, so if I rebuild, yeah, at first it's detached because once you rebuild, the surface don't match. If you needed to print, then this is not good. But it's reducing some of the points so that can reduce the size of the shape. Size of your model, so it would work. So I need to think about do I want to rebuild the whole thing or do I want to keep it as it is? I think I'm going to rebuild the whole thing because it doesn't really change anything visually. But I think I will go back to the original group. Maybe even grouped it together. No. Okay. So some of them look, no, they all look quite sophisticated. I think because they're trying to fit the rather sophisticated surface. So some appear to be less sophisticated, the surface. So and all of those lines are very sophisticated too, which I can probably So what is this so far? This one is a group. Maybe I can select a group because I have a couple of objects in there. To pick them one by one is complicated. And let's see if I can select groups. What's this? Block. Boundary curve. Or I can select a closed surface, which is this little open book, because I know they're closed surface. So I select all the closed surface and there's nothing else. So I will group them. And first I hide that. And first I rebuild all of this. Yeah, because they are way too complicated. Rebuild. Okay, degree I'm keeping it as, and point count 5. Okay, 5 should probably be okay. If I turn on all the control point, yeah, they're okay. They're much less control point now. So for all of this, I'm just going to swap. No, wait. I need to hide all those lines. So when I select, I'm just going to move because they're loosely connected anyway. Or if I don't want to mess around, I will make a copy. Typing copy. So that once I've done the operation, I will match to the original shape. So now with this one, first I'm going to ungroup. And now they have all of this, and select them all together again. And then group all of them. So they become one individual ones. I would just select this whole thing because they're poly surface. I don't think you can turn on control point on poly surface. So I'm going to select the whole thing and explode. So they all become little surfaces. And I'm select all of the surface again. And I'm going to type in rebuild. So now you can see there's too many. Point count, U and V. Each direction 3. Degree only as 2. No, degree I think I can keep it as 3. So that would be pretty close to the original shape. Also. So another thing is you do every so often need to save your file because I'm doing a big operation now. So it's taking quite a bit of computer power to generate. So the chances it may actually crash. And this is only the beginning of my form looking. I have another 10 times more ambition eventually to render. So this is not going to work. So I'm going to have to save the file. And I think you can also look for, it's already not responding. So now I have simplified the form. So there's a lot less control point. Oh, still a lot. Ooh, wow. Lot less than before, but still a lot. Um, so let's ungroup it and see each one of them. So there's a lot control point on this. Where's my tool that hide? I think I'm not going to worry too much about it. And first, if I turn on the control point here, there are many, but they're a lot less than before. So maybe I hide this. Couldn't find my toolbar, just type in hide. And, select all of this. This I don't mind the rebuild. There's 10. I think really just no more than 5. Especially the other direction. So one of the direction is a round shape. Another one is the vertical one. Vertical one is, if I analyze, where is you, where is we? I do not remember the green or the red. One of them is you, one of them is we. Okay, so I guess the only thing is you test. Rebuild. How to rebuild the curve? Oh, so there's a curve in there still. So I know this is a surface, so I should go and try to select my surface. Standard one away. Okay, now it came back. So I'm going to select only surface, no, which is this one. Select surface and then hide. No, there's no line. Compute. Okay, so let's make them U as 5, we as 3, and see how it works. even if the shape changed, I won't worry too much. So looks like correct. This direction is 5, so yeah. So this is fine. Now unhide and group this. And before I do the flow, I'm going to save. So before any of your big operation, you should save. So I'm going to flow this shape using a base curve. No, not this. Flow. Oh, this is all grouped together. So if that's the case, ungroup. Okay, select only this. No, need to select all of them and group and flow. Select object. And select the base curve. Select the target curve. So this time should work. Oh, there's something wrong with it. Because it's not following the whole curve. So type in flow again. Select object. Okay, now stretch. Need to select yes. So stretch to the whole curve. So I'm reasonably happy with this shape. So I created a pattern that represents city, and then it's a surface, and then a base surface. So then I flow onto this shape. It's reasonable. The proportion is sort of fine. So I'm going to hide this so that the city is looking like this. Now the modeling came to a more exploratory territory, which I have a lot of curvy lines. I'm just going to kind of trace over and see how it goes. And what I'm thinking is this curvy line or the curvy shape will follow the sparrow. In reality, the sparrow is really a biblical story about the Tower of Babel. So that the tower might need to be modified to capture a story, capture my belief that the future is somehow eaten. So the future is going to fade out. Okay, so which I'm going to do some other time. But now I'm just going to work through some of this line and then think about what other elements that need to be dealt with. My intent is not to be too literal when I create shape or form, but rather keep it loose. So I do have this. Here is a surface, or here is still the curve. The curve is still in there. So maybe I would build an entrance around this. So I don't know what entrance is that. Sort of a ring, but maybe using one of the shape that's rather interesting. And I have 20 of them. I don't plan to make this one so straightforward, just like a regular shape. I plan to work a bit. I believe that there's a center of this. So if I draw a circle and snap to the center, it's a bit hard. Maybe there are just too many others, too many endpoints. And intersect, vortex maybe. So remove some of that. If nothing else, remove the gumbo. Yeah, so it's a shape like this and generate a surface. So here is a surface, but this surface needed to somehow follow the entry. So it's at least the beginning, there's a bit of spiral-ish. I like to let the circle to follow partially this curve. The circle is a closed shape. Would it be possible to follow an open curve? And I will just do it and see. So this would be flow. Select object to flow. And select base curve would be the target curve is this curve. But maybe very likely, it's going to be a partial curve. Looks like it's still calculated. This is too. For sure, it's the wrong direction, that's for sure. Very much twisted. Since I don't plan to let this go forever, because this curve is long, I'm going to trim off part of the curve. Just select like this. Or maybe which view is better to see? Oh, this view is actually better to see. So I'm going to trim off whatever that's after this. Maybe actually hide all the surfaces. But first select all the surface and hide. So now is nothing else but line. Maybe trim off from here. So trim, select cutting. So now the curve is much easier. I don't know if I actually need that curve in the future. So better make a copy and drop it somewhere. Yeah, because that's my fundamental elements. So maybe I would need it. So I'm quite eager to see what is going on with this. Okay. I do want to hide this surface and this surface just so that I see where is the star right here. Okay. So if I can flow, select object, which is surface, select base curve, and then target curve. Okay. So what is this? Ah, I see. Because I have 20. Yeah, so it's actually correct. So the only thing is, let's check, see the surface, whether it has tons of control point. No, but this one may have many. Wow. Why? Of course, I can rebuild this. Ah, I see. So whatever is behind it is, oh, when I flow, maybe I should not stretch because somehow it's connecting from the beginning to the end. So yeah, so I need to redo this flow. So I probably let it to, or I could break with just make the circle rather a circle but an open curve. What I can do is I can probably split. Select the object to split. Select the cutting object. So I need a cutting object. Select the object. Select the cutting object. So now, even though this is still a circle, it's probably an open curve rather than closed curve. It's still called the closed curve. If that's the case, if I really wanted the open curve, I probably will be able to I'd probably be able to do two lines that's pretty close to each other. Okay. And then use this to trim the curve. I think I probably did. Okay, I did. So so maybe this time this will be flow okay, because yeah, because both are open curve. So now flow. So after the flow, here is a problem because the original star shape is pretty close, even that I opened up gaps here so that actually is open both in the curve and in the shape. But because it's very close, it's stretching, keeps stretching to each other. So I think the best way is forget about this and recreate a different shape. That that's more like a jagged shape, but straight. So eventually, instead of using the star shape, I create this chin, which later on I'm going to use gold color to render. But once I flow it based on normal flow, based on the baseline and target curve, then they actually might even look more interesting if it goes all around. So I needed to bring back one of the curve that I abandoned before. So I'm going to save this one. Feels like it's the file is getting big, and delete this. And I'm going to import. I think maybe this curve. Okay, where is it? Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's possible that doesn't have. Okay, undo import and import the other one that I saved before. Maybe this one? No. Very, very possible that I don't have the curve. So the danger of losing some of the elements is that in the future you may not have them. But what I can do is I'm going to have to travel, use this surface, and then generate lines based on the surface. Duplicate the face border, duplicate the border. I think either one is fine. Okay. So now if I select all of the surface and then hide, then I will see this, but this is not my original curve. It's close enough. this curve, which now I don't use, can move aside. And this curve has two edges. So I think I'm going to somehow disconnect and then trim. Maybe I can do it on the top view or this view. This is better view. Maybe I should just explode and see how it works. Okay, so I can delete this and also delete this. And this seems to have a reasonable control point. So I brought back unhide and also actually hide some of the surface just so that I can see the curve. Okay, so now what is this? So here is another flow, which I'm going to flow based on the curve. So if the command is taking long time to finish, better to save it before you operate on something really sophisticated. Otherwise, it may crash. So what my future plan for this work is to keep exploring on the surfaces. So let's check out this one. This is a bit too much also. But if I unhide and see if not the original surface, but just this is way too big. This is way too big. Maybe because the original one is too big. Yeah, it's based on this size. So this whole thing needs to be smaller. Anyway, I'll continue to work on it and come up with some surfaces that's floating and wrapping around this sparrow's surface. I started to create a sub-D from a 2x2 box, and then just started to work on some of the basic comment, and now I'm going to flatten this and using 1D scale. And play with this a bit to create some kind of a form. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's not very pleasant. I don't have too much pleasant forms in there yet, but soon there'll be more interesting form. So I'm going to make something extruding out. Here. But I'm going to use the mirror, which is this one. to create a axis. Great. Okay, start again. I'm going to do a center plane so that press enter. Okay, so I think now I have this shape that would modify on both sides. So if I stretch, no wait, plan to, okay, extrude, and I think I'm going to do a bevel. Where's the bevel? Beveled edge. Ah, should be, no wait, insert edge. Should be quite obvious. Bevel. Select mesh or sub the edges to bevel. So I guess segment 3. Offset absolute. Segment 2. Okay. Straight lines keep crease. For now say no. Doesn't seem to. I think it didn't do. Okay. Do it again. Sub D. Bevel. Select. Select edge loop. Somehow, okay, never mind. Okay, so this time did it. This should be a little bit bigger. So should I just go and do a scale? Or at least use a different view. Actually, I would use this view. Start move. It's awkward. Okay, select this one, and didn't seem to have the normal. Oh, I turned off the composition. So I can probably, if I really want, is it possible to select a middle point? Yeah, so at least. So 1D scale. 2D scale. I don't think there's a center. So I would use some kind of a point. This didn't seem to stretch the way I wanted. It stretched the wrong way. I wanted to go horizontally wider. I'll figure out how. I think this one is not possible to stretch horizontally the center piece because there's no other control point next to it. So this becomes one here, one here. So if I wanted to make wider, I have to make the whole thing wider rather than only the centerpiece because I think the proportion is controlled by the elements next to it. For example, if I drag this one, so although it's dragging that one wider, but pretty much is dragging it wider in a way. Yeah. So I guess there's not enough control point to start with. And then if I wanted, maybe I can subdivide. So there'll be more. The question is, which one do I subdivide? Should I subdivide this surface? Subdivide would be there should be a command. Otherwise, type in subdivide. Okay, wait. Didn't seem to subdivide at all. So let's say if I want to subdivide this other surface, is it possible? Select subd mesh subd surfaces. So this one actually worked. So when this one worked, all of them add in because that seemed to be a sub structure. So, but now I have too much structure here. Maybe later on I could make this, kind of like the eye, but I rather make it horizontally. Or if I think there's too many lines, too much surfaces, so maybe I could merge. So merge surface. Merge mesh surface. Merge face. Okay, if I merge face, I needed to select, for example, I'll How do I merge? Select this too. Recenter? No, it doesn't. Or at least it didn't show. Better undo. Okay, maybe it did. Redo. No. This time I'm going to select the loop. Select edges from loops. Okay, I'm going to mess around with this. So now I use a septic, created this bird, some kind of a flying creature with a big mouse that's ready to devour. So I'm going to flow, select object, the base curve, and then this is a three-dimensional 3D curve. So this was the original one, and this is the one after flow. It's quite scary, but I guess that's the goal. So I'm going to move on to create some curve and some shape, and let it wrap around this. I'm thinking what's the best way so that it goes in and out. I can certainly always do something manually, but maybe I can pick whatever is already in there and then snap to them and then do a curve and maybe offset so I'll have to think about it. So now I have a little bit of trouble because I wanted something to wrap around the shape, but the shape is a bit slanted and in any of the view, they're quite complicated. So what I did is first to remove some of the unnecessary items, and then basically draw a curve and then project this curve onto the spiral surface. So once that is done, they actually came up with some lines that's not connected, because when you project a couple of fragments, both on top and at the bottom. So those lines are actually on the surface. So so what I did is I create another curve, and then I'm going to use this curve to blend in with the other curve through blend curve. So if this one is on the curve, this one comes back, wrap around, and maybe somehow get into the second curve. Okay, so if I type in blend and blend curve, so this one and this one. So there's this bland curve. So I know this curve is somehow connected, starting from this, wrap around, goes under, the shape goes forward, and maybe this one. So there's no guarantee. And where is this curve? Let's see. So if I join all of them together, so now become one curve, and is something like this. Let me make a pipe, just see where these things are. The radius I would set to maybe 20. How big is that? Okay, so this is a reasonable curve. And then if I unhide all the elements and see how this works with this, part of the curve, okay, part of the curve should be, because this is projected onto the surface, so should be, but maybe I wanted to offset a bit so that, so this curve is, the new curve is maybe somewhat following. Okay, yeah. So I created a septic surface from septic surface and then created by 7 by 3 and played a little bit by dragging a bit here and there. Let's say if I drag it. Okay, so and also I'm going to use a line that's representing the baseline, because I'm going to try to flow this following this other line that I just created. Let's see if they are together. Maybe not. I think I better change the color just so that I can see it. Okay. And I select them. It's a bit too many points, but no problem. Join. Okay. So now I'm going to flow. Select object, center, select base curve, which is this one, and select a target curve. I can select from this end. So yeah, so that's this. If I unhide everything, let's see how it worked with my my shape. I think it's somewhat okay, because I worked to try to follow this shape. So it looks like it's, oh, the end is a bit awkward. I think this part. Maybe I should modify the end. Yeah, the end is a bit awkward. So There are certain places that can be modified while I'm after the flow. Delete this one. Maybe the and was a bit too much. Maybe let this one go a little further. So it's kind of like flat. Okay, so then I'm going to redo the line so that it still follows mid to mid. Okay, and then I will do the flow. Where is the line? Oh, okay, so let me hide. So the line is here, the red one. Now flow. So now I'm high and check the surface. So here I'm dragging a bit in the perspective so that they're not terribly intersecting. Okay, here, this part is again intersecting, but is it designed or is it not designed? No, actually it's no big deal. This still seems to make sense. And this one is wrapping around the edge, okay. But the final one, I like to go out of the shape, but not to to intersect too much. So select the surface. Select those three surface. Maybe first rotate them. Move so that it's out of it. But look at the three-dimensional quality of this. It's like okay. But are there some weird intersection? Maybe because of the surface twisted. The original surface wasn't twisted, but this one is. So although it didn't seem to be a big problem, maybe down them a bit. So now it's basically just 3D design. Here, I don't want it to be twisted. I think I'm going to just select the surface next to it. Oh, where is it? What am I selecting? Let me find tray a bit. Okay, now I think maybe still this edge is still a little bit twisted, but here is a bit low. So I'm going to move this one up a bit. Rotate, moving out. No. Okay, so that's good. So I don't want to intersect too much, although I'm not going to print, so it's no big deal if they intersect. Visually is, I think it's probably okay, no longer intersecting. Or, and it's interesting to fold like that. Okay. So I switched to this polygon view because I feel like the end of this is a bit too big. So I'm going to select the vertex and then trying to reduce a bit from which view that I can see now is a bit problem. I think this view, is this getting smaller? Yes. And where are we? Maybe stretch out a bit, maybe. This direction. No, wait. Stretch out a bit. Going downwards. So that's a bit flat. Okay. So it's very difficult to manipulate in this slanted view. So maybe that is a oh, are they intersecting? Now they're really intersecting. So and also the gumbo is set to follow the object, although it's maybe again the same. So although it's easy to see where in relationship to the object, but I think the reason that they are overlapping is definitely because the last move, maybe not. I think now it's not overlapping anymore. Intersect. So the other one also. So let's go back and see the view. Going downwards a bit, so no good. Needed to redo. Okay. Because it's intersecting with the maybe this should set to the object and then somehow rotate a bit. Is it possible to rotate? Maybe not this direction. I Anyway, this is a bit awkward the situation because it's quite difficult to play with this. Okay, so this was the original one. If I select the vertex, I believe it's somewhere here. And then the vertex outwards. Closer to the other one now. This is what I wanted. So that's open. But let's come out of this shape. And go down. First, rotate. The vertex doesn't matter. You can't really rotate vertex. Rotate. Oh, this makes more interesting. Rotate a bit this way. No. Other direction. I think this is kind of what I liked, or at least close to what I like. But let's look at it from a different view. But I have to say this is quite challenging because I lost the perfect coordination and everything is slanted. So it's very difficult from any of the view to see what is going on. So now I'm modeling the tree, and one of the useful tool I realize is subdivide. So I would select, let's say, this two surface and type in subdivide, and then we'll subdivide. So in this case, if I want, I can bring some branches out of this. For example, I need to select the surface, not the vertex. So I grow a branch, dragging. So so to make this more organic growth, you align to object. So that your coordination system is aligned to the object. So rather than X and Y and Z. So I move a bit, maybe this way a bit, continue to grow. Continue to grow. Maybe rotate a bit. And looking at other direction. Am I growing the right thing? Okay. Maybe a bit this direction. But not to make them so so straight like a stick. So maybe there'll be something I can modify a bit. Let's see. Okay, here I found this, and I could certainly move this. Of the control point or the vortex, maybe moving that direction a bit. It's possible to rotate, and only one direction you can actually continue to build, which is the blue direction. The other two seems like you are only able to rotate or move. I think the blue direction is adding more segments by hovering over. No, actually, this it doesn't do much because this is a vortex, not a surface. So yeah, surface you can actually do. Adding more surface. Move a bit. This direction. This direction. Move a bit. So that sometimes it's kind of a random effort, as long as it doesn't look odd. Because it's organic. Yeah. So this is still roughly the front view, not really, because I messed around with the view. Keep rotating them. So not bad. Let's say another branch I'm going to, or if I want to subdivide even this, but maybe later. So let's say there'll be a lot of the little surfaces I had before. This is a surface, but really giant. I won't use that for branches. This would be nice. First grow, continue to grow, continue to grow. Drag the middle point, as Fatma told me. Okay, and a bit. Rotate as you wish. Grow a bit. Move a bit, but not to drag too much, so that the moving and the growing goes together. Side. We sort of don't know what exactly it is, but that's roughly from the front view. And what does it look like on the top view? Yeah, seem to be okay. Maybe moving backwards a bit. And, rotate a bit so that it can grow a different direction. Rotate a bit. Okay, I think this might be more than enough. Or maybe something is already overdue, but I'm going to somehow eventually build something that's surrounding this those main trunks. So I made a copy of the tree. I'm going to somehow remove the roots so that this tree can be grafted to this a little bit the branch that's sticking out. So what I think I can do is to merge surface. So if I select all of those surfaces, I needed to use Shift and Control. It doesn't work. Maybe I should first select all the surfaces that I want to merge, and then type in merge faces, and then basically okay. So now I have this one does not have too much detail. I'm going to also make it smaller and rotate a bit. First of all, it's giving a different direction, and then scale, 3D scale. Okay, and then I'm going to move this thing to where I want to bridge. So these two, in terms of perspective, are pretty close to each other. Okay, at least there are two surfaces. Okay, if I select bridge, first set of a loop or edge to bridge. Wait. So first of all, make sure nothing's selected properly, because I needed to select this edge and they're quite good. Okay, so bridge, select the first set of edge or loop. So maybe what I will do is to press Shift and Control. Seems to be quite difficult. No, it's not selecting. I thought the bridge was quite easy. Ah, you have to make a hole. I remember, yeah. I think you have to somehow delete this one and select this one, not this surface, not this surface. Which surface? There should be a top surface. Yeah, this one. And delete that one. This seemed to be a bit too big for bridging. Selecting it and do a 1D, a 2D scale. Somewhat just put it in the center. I think this should work. Okay, go to sub D and go to bridge. Select first set of edges, which is this. Press enter one down. Select second set of edges, which is this. Press. Why is the second set not selected? There's something wrong with it. Maybe there's something not right here. Let's try. I think there's something wrong with this, so need to investigate a bit. So now I'm working on the sum. I would use a sub D sphere, and I would use 10 by 10. Okay, the sphere is like this. And I have this sort of like the flame. Where is it? The flame. I think I need this one to go a little bit longer. And also bit sharp, quite a bit of sharpness. So it's play with this flame a bit. Maybe a bit twisted. Maybe this is okay. So I can continue to play, but let me first flow and see how it works. So I'm going to construct a line, use vertex, make sure the vertex is selected. So using vertex and the vertex and create, this is going to be the baseline. So I'm going to flow this onto this surface. So just do a flow. Select object, select a base curve, and select target curve. So looks sort of okay. Maybe it's just a little too big. So let's look at the view. So maybe this twisting is a little bit too much. Actually, should probably go the other way around. So I'm going to play with this, and so that this will go upwards. So if this goes upwards, this curve need to be modified. Now this is getting wider. So I need to work with this and see how it works. Okay. Select the edge. Select something like this and see how does it work. Oh, it's quite awkward, huh? No, so this is not right. So this need to be reworked out. So now the flow is finished. This little shape, I created a base curve, which is right here, and then flowed onto this surface bit by bit, because it's each segment is basically taken as a curve. So now I just needed to rotate and make this one correct in terms of the view, and this I will just temporarily hide. So set view, set to view number 4. So it looks like this, but I think I'm going to rotate so not let so let this one go sort of like this for now. here is something I really like to mention, which is in case your file crashed, which I don't know what happened to mine, and it actually crashed. So what you would do for Windows is you go to C drive, you go to your users, and you go to whoever you are. But by now you needed to go and check the hidden item. So application data will come local. Where is it? This is McNeil, which is the Rhino's developer, Rhino 7.0, then autosave. So so this one is the latest. I'm just going to drag this one into here. And hopefully this one has most of the information.